Welcome to episode 18, season 2 of The Big and Tall Show. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you grow big and tall in your faith. This is our final show for 2025. Your hosts, Mark, who is big, and Tom, who is tall, invite you in for a look over the year and a little bit of what's ahead as our Lord wills it. Thank you for your support, and here are Mark Hastings and Tom Runyon.
All right, Tom, we welcome everyone back to another episode of the Big and Tall podcast, and we're glad and thankful that everybody is here and joining us. And Tom, this is our last, and we've been saying this for a couple of weeks, but this is our last episode for the year. We're closing out, I guess, season 2, and we're going to take a couple of weeks to regroup and then we'll start back the podcast season 3 the first week in January. But this week, Tom, and me and you have been talking about this. We sort of want to do, I guess, sort of a recap of the podcast, a recap of our lives this year. And so that's what this next few minutes is going to be. I hope people are interested in that, to sort of catch up with our lives, and that's what we're going to do for the next few minutes.
Mark, you and I talked about it, and welcome everyone, and thank you, Jay. But we talked about this week, that I think we're, as a culture, as a society, we're starting to move away from sending out those annual Christmas letters, and
right.
And I say we're moving away from it. The older generation, and I can say this, let me start over. My dad has 2 brothers. One of them is very close in age, and one of them is a whole lot younger. But the one that is close to age as my father was, he's in his 80s, so he's 81, I think. And we got his Christmas letter this week, and of course that used to be the thing. You basically, because you didn't post anything to Facebook, you didn't text anything, you didn't send out emails. Back in the day, man, you would send a letter to all your friends and family, and basically, hey, here's what went on this week or this year. So and so's Jimmy's in the 3rd grade and Johnny's in the 4th grade, and
right.
He likes basketball and he likes the piano and whatever. They would just tell you about their lives, and we've gotten away from that. But I think it might be a good idea on our podcast to basically go over our families and kind of what's going on in our lives. And now, look, if you are listening and you have just turned it off, I get it. I totally get it. But I think the majority of our listeners, and you and I talked about this week as well, the majority of our listeners, I believe, they know us and, personally know us. And, maybe a couple of years down the road, we'll have listeners in Illinois and Afghanistan and all over the place. But as of right now, I think it's just mostly people we know. So they may appreciate hearing this. So, but anyway, that I think that's our plan. And hopefully it'll still be a good episode. And like you said, we're so excited about recording our season 3, beginning that first week of January. And with you and I getting together and meeting and trying to figure out the best plan moving forward. And I feel like we've done a good work these first 2 seasons, and hopefully we have encouraged others to stand big and tall in their faith. And we still want to encourage and want this to be beneficial for people who are taking time to listen, but maybe changing up how we're doing some things. So, but anyway, but for today, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I want to start talking about the podcast just for a second, and then I'll get into some of our family stuff this year. I'm looking back on my calendar, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. It looks like the last week of February may have been our first, or the 18th of February may have been our first recording of the brand new podcast. Either way, it was in February. I do remember that.
Yes.
And, we were excited about doing it, and we're still excited about it. I think that we're retaining, a lot of our listeners, and we just hope in the next season to continue to grow. We hope that it's something that's helping everybody. You and I enjoy doing it, and so if we still enjoy it, we're going to keep doing it. And hopefully, we have several out there that listen in and get some encouragement throughout the week, and that's still the purpose of the podcast. Even though we may make a few changes with content, with season structure and all of that, but our goal is to, as the podcast is named, to help everyone stand big and tall in their faith. And no matter what we do in the coming seasons, it's always going to be focused on that. And so I appreciate you, Tom, sort of coming up with the idea and us running with it. And I appreciate Jay for helping all year long as well. So that's sort of my take on the podcast. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I will just, once again, thankful to any of our or all of our listeners who do take time and have been willing to share this podcast with others. I think this has been said many, many times by anyone who has taught a Bible lesson. And I think this is 100% true. I think you'll agree with me. When you are the one who is planning for and preparing to teach a lesson, you learn far more than the students ever learn. And yeah. I feel that way about our podcast. I have been so encouraged, and I know that my faith has grown tremendously this year. Just from preparing for this podcast and publishing this thing every week, it's been a blessing to me. And I appreciate you and your willingness to do this. And like you said, thank you, Jay, for helping us so much with this. But it's from an individual standpoint, I know my faith has grown tremendously because this is just extra time I'm spending in God's Word, extra time I'm spending with you discussing spiritual things that are going to do nothing but help me in my daily Christian life. And I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I do agree with you, Mark. I feel like we do have a good core of listeners who, based off the comments they have shared with us, that they have been encouraged and their faith is continuing to grow as well. And that's what this is all about.
That's right. Okay, Tom, let's talk about our families. Let's give an update or a review of what has taken place. I'll go first, and then I'll turn it over to you. I want to talk first about Rachel, my wife. We have been married now. Well, last August would have been or is 24 years. So next year is a big year, year number 25. She had several things that happened in her life this past year. Her mother passed away in January, and so that was sort of a bad start to the year. She's lost both of her parents now, and going throughout the year without both of your parents it's a tough thing to have birthdays and Thanksgivings and Christmas and mom and dad not being there. So that was a tough way to start. She then fell on, and she'll probably not like me saying this, but she was feeding our chickens, and it was slippery and it was rainy, and she tripped, rolled, I guess you'd say, her foot on a pine cone on the hill and just fell on her right side. And I saw it and sort of chuckled, and she said, "I think I'm hurt." I said, "Oh no." And sure enough, she had crushed her shoulder, and so she had to have surgery on her shoulder. But through all of that, she finished up her master's degree in early childhood, and so she's been talking about doing that for years and years and years, and finally started on it about a year and a half ago and finished it up this fall. So I was proud of her for that. She also spoke at her First Ladies' Day this year at Crestview in Boaz. And I would suspect that she'll be doing more of those. I think it was received very well, and I was proud of her for doing that. That's sort of her year in review. Hannah, my daughter, 19 years old, started another year at Northeast, and she has one more semester there, and then she'll be applying for PTA school, physical therapy assistant school, either at Calhoun or Wallace, and those are tough to get into, evidently. They only take a certain amount of students, and so we are hoping and praying that she will get accepted to one of those schools. And I think that's about 1.5 to 2 year program, and then she'll be able to to start her career. Ben, my son, 17 years old, he is. This was his senior year. It is his senior year. And, we got to experience the last football games, and that was sort of sad. We're getting ready for his graduation coming up in the spring of next year. And so he's trying to decide, Tom, what he wants to do for his life. Man, it's a tough age to, you're 17 and you say, okay, here's what I want to do until I'm 70 years old. That's a hard decision to make.
Yeah, it is.
But he's struggling with that. But he's got some things on his mind. How about tell us about your family, Tom?
Well, I would say very, very parallel year when you think about it. Very parallel year. I lost my father in January, the same as Rachel, losing her mother, and of course that's a big deal when you lose a parent.
Yeah, and
that's been challenging for me and for us. But that's part of life, and we accept that. And Paige and I have been married for 25 years in June, so we're very close to you guys there. And I'm amazed she's put up with me for this long. And
yeah, me too.
And evidently still willing to keep on. So I'm gonna run with this.
She's a good woman.
Yes, she is. I'll run with this as long as I can. So
that's right.
But and I think we've mentioned this. She and I are both retired educators. Both put in our 25 years, and she is the manager in an outdoor store in Athens, and of course I work in the construction and outdoor living world, and both of us enjoy what we do very much so, but we're also planning to make some changes this upcoming year to we're starting our own business, just basically to be able to spend more time together and have a little more flexibility in our lives, and so we'll discuss that more. I know, and we'll plan to discuss that more in the season 3 of our podcast as maybe we get into some of that, but the two of us are doing very well and love where we live and love spending as much time together as we can and traveling, and it's just a great life that we have together. Parker, our daughter, she is in her 4th year at Auburn, and her degree.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's crazy. Time flies so quickly.
Yeah.
Her major is wildlife enterprise management, which is a really neat program they have down there, and it's basically 3 parts. Wildlife is learning about how to conserve wildlife and how to better understand wildlife, and the enterprise management part of it is basically learning how to run a business and manage events and manage people as it deals or as it relates to the conservation of wildlife in the environment. So basically this major was created, my understanding is for guys that want to run hunting lodges or fishing outfits or ranches out in Montana, but it fits her what she likes in life. She loves managing events. She's actually worked in the Auburn Athletics Special Events Division or office for the last 3.5 years and does a phenomenal job with that. And
that's cool.
And so she loves the outdoors and loves the business side of things. And so we're going to see where this will take her. I have no doubt she will be extremely successful when she finishes at Auburn, just because she's very driven and hardworking. And has just a great heart. And so, we're just, obviously, as most parents of college students are, we're so excited to have her home in the next few days. She's actually down in Orlando this week, working with an organization that helps with some kids that are down there in some difficult situations. So, but anyway, so she's just a great kid, and we're so proud of her. But we and I know we've mentioned this on the podcast before, especially when we are discussing those in the world that are facing such difficulties or persecutions for their faith. And, we're so thankful that we do have wonderful lives and our family, and we have a great life our lives together as our family. And we love our family there at Bethel. And I know you and I wanted to mention that a little bit as well. We are both elders in the Lord's church. I've been an elder at Bethel for a couple of years, and I believe you've been an elder for about 4. So I think that both makes us as in relation to others in the world, we're fairly young in our capacity of being an elder and learning day by day of what that means and how important it is to be serving in the role of shepherding the flock of God's people. And boy, that has been a tremendous change for me, and the mindset of the responsibility that goes with that, and just blessed for that opportunity.
Yeah, and when I was asked several years ago, I thought, well, I'm in at that point, really my early 40s, and I thought, am I too young to be an elder? And maybe some would say, yes, you are. But I wanted to take advantage of the other elders that were older for as many years as I could, to sit in meetings with them, to see how they interact, with the congregation and with the other elders. And I really wanted that experience while I was younger, and I'm thankful that I did that. We had one elder that actually stepped down. He had been an elder for 30 something years. So he stepped down, but we still have another elder that has been there for the same length of time, 30, almost 35, 40 years. And to be able to learn from him, and we actually have 4 elders at Alder Springs, but to be able to learn from somebody that's been there is something I really wanted to do. And I've got to spend 4 years as an elder with this older elder, and I hope he continues to be an elder. But I appreciate that time that I've had to do that. And Tom, speaking of church work, of course I preach at Hebron and at Alder Springs, and it's hard to explain to people sometimes, but the time situation, at Hebron, they moved their service times so that I could make it on Sundays and Wednesdays, and yeah, it makes for a long day, but at this point I wouldn't have it any other way. I love both congregations, and we'll do that as long as I can, frankly. But one thing that really stood out as I was thinking over my year for 2025, I preached a lot of funerals this year. I guess I've preached more funerals this year than I have in the last 20 years, as far as in the last 12 months. And I don't know how many. I know that if you're at a bigger congregation, you probably preach 20, 30 funerals in a year. I don't know, but I probably preached at least one a month this year, and that's a lot. I would say on average I would do 5 to 7 to 10 funerals in a year, but I did a lot more this year. We had some great people that passed away, and just it's been a tough year as far as that goes. But another thing I wanted to mention, Tom, and is in my personal church growth is what I'm, and I know all of us are trying to mature. We're trying to grow spiritually every single year. One thing that that I guess you'd say accomplished, and I am proud of it. I finished preaching through the Old Testament, and I just finished up this month, a couple weeks ago. Not, extensively from the Old Testament, but an overview of every book of the Old Testament. And this has been like a 2.5 year, 3 year process. But I finally finished up the last two of the Minor Prophets a couple weeks ago. And I was proud of that accomplishment. And I guess more than that, I'm thankful for the knowledge that I gained. And that's one thing, Tom, I'm trying to work at is my Old Testament knowledge. I don't know. I guess it was 5 or so years ago. I started thinking, I don't know a whole lot of detail on the Old Testament. And so I started to study it, and then I started to preach through it and work through the 12 periods of biblical history. And I've sort of, been, I don't know if you'd say obsessed, but I love now going to the Old Testament and actually, oh yeah, I know what's happening here. I know what period this is, and I know who these characters are. And it makes such a difference when then I go to read the New Testament. It sort of opens my eyes to some things in the New Testament. And so that's still a journey, of course, that I'm on, but I'm trying each year to improve my knowledge of the scriptures overall, but especially of the Old Testament. So that's something that I was sort of proud that I accomplished this year.
Yeah, that is awesome. And you and I mentioned a little earlier, just one of my biggest concerns with becoming an elder is do I have enough Bible knowledge? In my answer, of course, is absolutely not. But I
Right.
feel like that's probably the thought of every Christian who is speaking with a truthful heart is we all need to increase in our knowledge. And so
right.
I'm very similar to you. I'm working to fix that. I'm working to improve my Bible knowledge through my study every day. And it's you learn more about God. You learn more about yourself. You learn more about your family, and our responsibilities and our goals, our spiritual goals. Of course, all of us wanting to spend eternity together in heaven. And
Yeah.
man, it's just it's a great experience when you do start studying more. And of course, that's one of our biggest goals with this podcast is encouraging others.
Right.
As we're talking about things on this podcast, are you studying as well? Are you following along with our podcast? And even are you able to pull out that Bible and to make sure that we know what we're talking about as we're going through
Right.
the scriptures? But
And one other thing I want to mention, Tom, and I think I've mentioned this on several podcasts maybe, but at the end of last year, I came up with a reading plan for the New Testament, and I sent that out. I took it to several churches that I spoke at this year. I put it on, I believe, our Alder Springs and Hebron's Facebook page. I think Rachel put it on her Facebook page. But anyway, it's a very simple read through the New Testament, and it's a 17-week program, 5 days a week. So you get the weekends off, or use the weekends for catch-up time. But that at 17 weeks, that gets you through the New Testament 4 times in a year. And that's what we've done as a church. That's what I've done as an individual. And I've had several people from different congregations that I took that to. They said that they have been trying to get a plan for years and years and years, and this one stuck with them. So if anybody's listening and y'all want that plan, very easy for me to email it to you. I can put it on Facebook again, or just text it to you, and I would be more than happy to do that, because it is a very easy plan, and it'll keep you on track in your Bible study for the year. So if anybody needs that, let me know.
Well, Mark, I think you and I have proven over the course of this nearly year of podcasts, we can burn through about a half an hour just like that. And here we are. And so, Mark, I don't think we should close in the normal way because we have discussed zero scripture. But I do want to say, hey, it's been a great first two seasons, and I do say that first two because I feel like it's the first two of many, and I hope that you and I are both willing and most importantly able to continue for many more seasons. And I'm looking forward to our listeners hopefully continuing to listen as we move forward into January of 26. But Mark, I appreciate you, and I thank every single one of our listeners, and I hope everyone has a great couple of weeks that we are away from you. Enjoy that time with family and friends and good feasts. And Mark, I hope you have a great rest of your week.
You too, Tom, and we'll, Lord willing, we will be back the first of the year, 2026, as we kick off season 3. God bless everybody. Go stand big and tall in your faith.
Thank you for listening today. As Mark and Tom have mentioned, they'll be taking a short break, and we'll be back for more talks about strengthening our faith in Christ. If you enjoyed today's show, don't hesitate to reach out to Mark and Tom to let them know, as they actually read comments left for them. In addition, why not tell your friends about the Big and Tall Show? Send them a link and let them in on what you know. As we close out 2025, we wish you the very best for the coming year, and we hope you'll stay with us for the upcoming season.